All right, let's get ready to rock and roll. Honestly, we've had some PSI references, and so just want to make sure that we touch bases. For those who are watching on our YouTube channel, you're live, guys. Tennessee has a majority of a aesthetics exam in all of the exams with infection control. Okay. And so since we know there's a majority in the area, it also gives us an outline of ways to study. Um, and let me be clear, even for those individuals testing in Mississippi, the textbooks are the same as far as the reference. Tennessee and Mississippi have similar tests. They're not exactly the same, okay? But they're pulling the information out of the same book. And so that's why I'm so confident that those individuals testing in Mississippi are going to do amazing because you've already had all of the information. Now that you just have to tailor it to the Mississippi outline. Okay. And so that's simply what we're doing. We're just going to tailor it. And Mississippi is, when you see that test, it looks like it's a whole lot, but it is on a national testing, so Tennessee is more so just statewide. And so it's a national testing. So it's going to have more stuff. And it really puts you into a place of a little deeper learning, deeper studying as well. But you can do it. Okay. So looking at infection control, y'all, if you go onto your SEMA, it's going to be in the gray box, and it's going to be chapter 5. Chapter 5 in the gray box. I just wanted to go straight to the ebook. So there are a few things we should be referencing. Okay. And a few things we got to clear up as well, because remember, we need to bring the aspect of cleaning in and not so much always saying sanitation. So the schools and educators have had to change our verbiage of, this whole aspect of infection control and how we were taught to present day and what the tests reflect. Okay. So everybody's having to change, you know, their verbiage and making sure we're all on the same page. And for any educator that's out there, it's always good for you to seek and explore the state board reports, videos. Always find the latest and most relevant information to make sure that the students are well prepared. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you being 20 years in and going back and reading a chapter all over again, just to have some understanding and see what are the latest, most relevant updates. Okay. And so that's pretty much where we are at this moment. All right. And so we are in chapter 5, infection control. And so here's the number one thing as we begin to go over this. India and Ashley and whoever else is on the line. Guys, our terms are going to be key. Okay. Even in our latest presentation in April from PSI, he stated terms are going to be key, making sure your students understand what they're reading. And so, y'all, we only can do that if we understand our terms, okay? And if you understand what you're reading and you know that it's just out of nowhere, nothing that you read comes anywhere close to it, we got a problem. Okay, well, you know that, hey, let me put this over here in the yellow zone because that doesn't work where it does not sit where it needs to sit. Okay, so just looking at infection control, every time you see a bold highlighted term, that's something you're going to want to study. Every time you see a check-in question, that's something you should be studying. Okay, terms and check-in questions. So here we go. You have two terms here. Of course, we know the state boards and regulatory agency require that infection control measures and safe work practices be applied while serving the public. Okay. For us, the beauty industry, and for our local just local governments. You have the health department, and then also state governments, the regulatory agency. That is a state board. Okay. And there's so many boards, but the regulatory agency that governs us is cosmetology. You may say, Ms. Cos, I am not a cosmetologist, but cosmetology consists of hair, skin, nails. All right. And so our boards, barber and cosmetology, are together. So hair, skin, nails, all that falls under cosmetology. So when you hear the term State Board of Cosmetology, that does include you. You're just under the umbrella. Okay. And so they govern, they give us rules on what to do, how to do. So they don't make the law. The politicians make the law. Okay. And then the state boards enforce the law. Okay. They apply rules and junctions and fines and things of that nature, penalties. That's what they do. Okay. So when we look at infection control, which is one of our terms, it refers to the methods used to eliminate or reduce the transmission of infectious organisms from one person to another. That's simply what our goal is. I made a reference yesterday and I mentioned the number 16. Anytime you see the number 16, two things. One, instructors got to have 16 continuing education hours to renew their license. Okay. Guess what? 16 also, you need 16 hours for braiders certification. But guess what that braider certification is? It's 16 hours of hygiene, infection control for braider certification. So you're telling me I ain't even got to know how to braid, but as long as I know how not to spread disease and infection, long as I know how to keep everything clean, I can have a certification. That's what it says, guys. Okay. So ever since 22, our major focus on infection control has been into play. And so pretty much you guys have come through post-COVID pandemic, all of those particular things. We made it through. And some of the things we had to do was we heard repeatedly, wash your hands. We heard repeatedly, wear a mask. We heard repeatedly, oh, get the shot. Make sure you're clean, make sure you're wiping. We heard a lot of stuff. Okay. And all of that was to prevent the spread, eliminate, or reduce the transmission of infectious organisms from one person to another. Okay. That was the main thing. And how it references us, salons, spas, barbershop, we closed down. In order to work, we had to have barberside certifications, and we still have to renew some form of knowledge, and we're still held responsible to this day. Okay. It was good for some salons, spas, and barbershops to be held under such close of an eye, because what they weren't doing, it made them start doing. Okay. It says safe work practices require that implements, tools, and equipment must be used safely, and that you be aware of situations that can cause accidents. Okay. So pretty much this chapter is a guideline just to help you along the way. Okay. As you get started. When we talk about implements, tools, and equipment, okay, that comes in contact with your clients. Your service provider comes in contact with your clients, okay? We need to know how to handle them. We need to know how to clean them, okay? One of the biggest things that you're tested on, you look at your PSI booklet, page 11 or 12, it is going to say, and it's going to in reference to make sure you know the difference between multi-use and single-use materials, okay, tools, implements. You got to know the difference between it, okay? And so this chapter just helps guide us in that way. Let's look at our vocabulary, which we know is going to be very, important for us. So, four terms, and they're highlighted: yellow, green, blue, and pink. Four terms. It says before we discuss infection control and safe work practices, we need to know these terms and how much they are different. Okay. So, when I was coming up, it was just three terms. That's why it's important for instructors to go back through, read again, continue to be teachable. And so now with the world doing whatever it wants to do, however it's growing, we've adopted a new term. We've adopted a new term. You need to adapt to this new term because in testing, they're literally, when I say literally, yes, literally judging you or grading you, yes or no, off of cleaning versus sanitize. Remember, sanitize our hands and we clean our surfaces. We sanitize our hands and we clean our implements, okay? And so no longer is sanitizing sanitation related to cleaning your area, cleaning non-porous surfaces. We can't do that, can't reference that. So we got to change our mindset. Let's look at these four infection control vocabulary that we should focus on. Cleaning is a mechanical process. Really, Kiki? It's a mechanical process using soap and water or detergent and water to remove all visible dirt, debris, and many disease-causing germs. Cleaning also removes invisible debris that interferes with disinfection. So anything that's going to stop this area from being clean. All right. So cleaning, if you was to give examples of cleaning, when you got ready to leave school at night, you would take your wipe and you would go across your state or go across your table and your chair. That would be cleaning. Mechanical process using soap and water or detergent and water to remove all visible dirt, debris, many disease causing germs. Cleaning also removes invisible debris. Wiping down your station, just if I was using witch hazel or alcohol, I would be in the cleaning process. Okay. And that's just spraying it. Sanitizing. Sanitizing is a chemical process for reducing the number of disease-causing germs on clean surfaces to a safe level. Infection controls professionals consider sanitation to be a layperson's term or a product marketing term, such as hand sanitizers, preferring cleaning to describe the step before disinfecting. So now we're seeing where they will prefer cleaning as far as replacing the term sanitation. Sanitizing hand sanitizer, okay? Sanitizing is going to be that's what we do with our hands. Cleaning is going to be that initial step, like a pre-clean before you move to disinfection. Disinfecting, a chemical process for use with non-porous items, okay? So what is non-porous? Because you're going to be able to, you have to understand it as well. Non-porous is going to be something that moisture cannot absorb into, okay? Moisture cannot absorb into it. So disinfecting is a chemical process for use with non-porous items that uses specific products to destroy harmful organisms, including bacteria, viruses, and fungi. except bacteria spores on implements and environmental surfaces. So except bacteria spores. Okay. Bacteria spores can be described as the origin of bacteria growth, where it comes from. And bacteria spores, the origin can only be destroyed through sterilization. Okay, it can only be destroyed through sterilization. So if sterilization does not take place, even though you have disinfected, okay, it can grow back. All right. So disinfecting, that's highlighted in our blue, chemical process. Now, disinfecting has two words that are associated with it. And so one word would be disinfectant. Okay. Disinfectant will actually be the product you use to disinfect the surface. 401, 409. Okay. Any kind of what's your cleaning fabuloso, your cleaning products. Okay. Sterilizing is the process that destroys all microbial life, including spores. There we go again, generally with the use of autoclave. All right, so now we have a form of sterilization. Now, there is another form of sterilization that we don't use mostly in salons and spas because we don't have a stove. We don't really shouldn't have boiling water. Like there's no kitchen. Okay. But another form of sterilization would be a boiling. Take your water, boil it at a temperature of 212 degrees. That's the boiling point, and then you would dip your implements in that water and bring them up. At the point of entrance, you are killing that or destroying that bacteria. All right. And so you may have seen this with baby bottles. You may have seen this with pedicure tools. And if you think about it, what aesthetic tools could, use sterilization? And it's anything that's metal, okay, and it can go in. And so I'm thinking about your extractor tools, all of your extractor tools, okay, and especially if they are metal implements, your tweezers, those will be the items that we could put, that we could sterilize in, dip them in the boiling water and bring them back up and to kill all the spores. And so definitely make sure that we reference these four, and we know that cleaning is a prelude to disinfecting. And cleaning is pretty much what you're going to do. Just say we clean every day. At the end of the day, bam, we do a general cleaning. But I may come in like tomorrow's Friday. So Friday, I'm going to do a deep cleaning, and that's going to be my disinfecting. Okay. My deep cleaning is going to be me primarily making sure that I got everything taken care of. I may go a little bit deeper into the crevices instead of sweeping, may sweep and mop. Also, we'll look at certain things as it relates to all of your equipment. I'm a spray, let it sit, and then go back and wipe. And so deep cleaning, disinfecting will be done usually at the end of the week. Okay. I'm going to probably run vinegar and water, distilled water through the facial machines because that would be a part of my disinfecting process as well. So making sure there's no mineral buildup on those processes. Okay. And that's what we have there. So just want to make sure we touch bases on that. It says beauty professionals should study and have a thorough understanding of infection control and I want to highlight this because that is going to be a check-in question. And if it's a check-in question, it's probably going to be something on your exam that gives reference to why you need to know this. Okay. So here's the point. It's important to know about the pathogens, professionals and their clients may be exposed to and their modes of transmission. Okay. Here's the thing. People want their services done. I've been in this industry long enough. It's that people want what they want. They want their services done. Some of them are considerate. Some are considerate of, hey, I'm not feeling good. I'm ill. I don't think I should come in and get my service today. And the others are just like, I don't care what's going on. They could be two steps from their deathbed, but they want them lashes. Okay. And so you really have to know and really have policies and things like that in place, have signage, have this conversation with your clients. And I see beauty professionals starting to have more conversation and not being so much, as far as money grabbing, but saying, hey, enough is enough. If you're sick, don't come in because I then have to take whatever you bring in home. Okay. And now my home cannot get sick. My kids cannot get sick. I have to cook. I have to clean. I'm the number one. I'm the champ at home. So I got to make the champ, got to make sure everything is good. So I am seeing more service providers stand up and say what they will take and what they will not take, and really creating policies and boundaries for clients that come in with said issues. Okay. Or communicable anything that can be transmitted from one person to another. And y'all, that includes the common cold. Okay. So it is very important for you to know if you're esthetician or a beauty professional, let me just name some things that people come in with that you could be that could transmit from one person to the next. Lice, scabies, same family, common cold, them coughing, the flu, that flu bug, that's another thing. Even with them coming in with skin conditions, okay, dry, flaky skin, and sometimes if there's evidence of infection like redness, pus, sores, um, those are going to be things you're not going to be able to service the client. Not so much service the client, but you need to create a policy. And so, hey, go and get this checked out. And if that's good, then we'll come back in and service. Be able to identify conditions, disorders, and diseases. Okay, conditions you can treat, you can service them with conditions. It's going to improve over time, maybe with a little medication. Disorders, you got to have a physician clearance to do that. Okay, they need to go see a physician first with disorders. All right, and then diseases, you cannot treat diseases at all. And remember, you're not a physician, you're a beauty professional. Okay. You have an expertise, a limited expertise in certain things related to medical as it relates to hair, skin, and nails. And so it's very limited. We don't diagnose and we don't treat. Okay. And so you got to find out what you're able to do and how things really work. And other things such as herpes simplex, you name what number. Um, Also, you got sexually transmitted diseases that actually can be seen on the face. Okay. And because we are now more bold and we're servicing intimate areas, that opens us up to diseases and conditions that affect those areas. Okay, conditions, disorders, and diseases that affect those areas. And so, and then we're coming back and servicing our regular clients and going home. So we have to make sure, even in working in those environments, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Ashley, can you recap what did we do yesterday as a measure to prevent the spread of maybe disease or germs with one of our services yesterday? in one of our tools that we use.
We made sure we had gloves on. We also put saran wrap over our LED lights once we went in and massaged the back area.
Exactly. Which yes, we did our first thing. We made sure we had those gloves on. And then if that LED light was going to touch the skin, we made sure saran wrap was on it. One of the major components, your clients are looking at the service lists that you offer. Okay. And they're looking at your tools. They're looking at what you use. They want to really use them at home themselves, but their cross contamination, they can catch it way before you catch it. Okay. So making sure we whatever we're using as far as in vaginal area, underarm, anything around intimate private areas, I want to make sure I have an additional set of tools for those areas. Or we make sure our tool sets are completely covered, that it does not come in contact with the skin. Okay. And that's even more assurance and awareness for our clients that are sitting in the chair getting the services. So we're just making sure we're good. But knowing those modes of transmission. Now, when it comes to waxing, you can Google it. There have been stories, there have been reports, there have even been lawsuits of clients getting gonorrhea on the eyebrows, on the lip. Okay, and the resources, things being traced back to a certain salon or spa in California. Um, even someone leg having to be cut off, they're up to the knee part because they came and got a pedicure. Okay, and when they came and got a pedicure, they didn't clean it out properly. They drew the water, and the fungus bacteria that was sitting underneath the drain came back up into the pedicure water and infected the person's leg from the toe all the way up, and they had to cut it off right at like the knee area to save the leg. It just kind of started eating up on the air, just deteriorating the leg. And that came from that person getting a pedicure. But what happened, how they found out multiple clients had issues from the pedicure. So they were like taking the dead skin off, and just letting it fall back into the tub. And when you drained it out, they may have cleaned the exterior of it. It may smell like bleach, all of that stuff. But when they ran the water and stopped it back up and ran the water, the bacteria that still settled in the bottom of that drain came back up and infected the client's feet, leg, and up until one point you had one person that had to have their leg pretty much, you know, so that was a change. That happens. It happens. You can get scabies in between your fingers. If you're a manicurist, you probably always have something itching or something going on in between your fingers. Okay. Just holding people's hands, touching people, you don't know what their hands have done. They grab your hands at the nail shop and they don't sanitize the hands. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And if they're wearing gloves, I'm like, okay, good that you're wearing gloves, but what are you not protecting me from? Okay. Hold on, we got somebody coming in. Hold on one moment. I don't know what happened to her. Okay. Yeah, so you got to be careful of those practices at all times. So it's a big deal. Okay, we got somebody else coming on. I'm trying to hold tight. She comes on. Yeah, here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Maya, go ahead and put your name in the chat. It's the roll call. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great. Before we move over to Lash, we are talking about infection control, cleanliness, just making sure we are, just in a great space and everybody understands about the four levels of infection control. And we are going over some reasons why spa professionals should, okay, understand infection control. We got to know. So when a client comes in and tells us, oh, this just from that, you got to know, nah, baby girl, that ain't what that come from. Okay. So if you got to study your stuff and, you know, I don't know if you heard about the reports early this week or late last week, but we're like number two in new stats in new HIV cases. Okay. Um, and let's just set the record. It doesn't matter what a person has going on. And if you know HIV, AIDS, and you know how it's transmitted, and so remember, say you got to know the transmission modes, you know how it's transmitted, it does not stop me from servicing you. Okay. Will there be times I won't service an individual? Yes. If they fall within signs of infection, they have not been to a physician, they are not under a physician's care. Also, if there's any open wounds, pus, blood, um, anything outward, okay, we got to have a conversation about infection control. You protecting me, and I'm protecting you. Okay. So knowing if a person says that they have this and being upfront with you and showing you, documentation, you can, that's a very discreet conversation that you guys can have, but it does not stop me from servicing them. The only thing that stops me from servicing them if they are not concerned about my well-being. Okay. And if there are signs of infection, I will not service them. Or if there are open wounds, I will not service them because at that time I will be making more of a bigger problem than they would ever have. Okay, because I'm dealing with chemicals, whether it's lash adhesive, whether it's chemical peel, I'm dealing with it. Okay, so we don't want to make a bad thing worse, and so we make sure that even though your field is aesthetics and your field is lash specialty, you need to have a reference where you study about what's in your area. If your target market is men or women or children or families, but you're in a particular area, know what's in that area. Go and get some reports from the health department. Okay. If you're going to be doing Brazilian waxes, and that's what I'm gonna specialize in, anything, any contraindications, which are doubts, if anything could go wrong, you need to know. And diseases, disorders, anything that affects the area that you're specializing in, you should know about it. It should be no reason anybody calls me 3 years from now and you are an amazing waxer. And you say, well, Miss Cox, I had a student come in, I mean, a client come in and she got such, and I took a picture. I'm like, no, you're not even supposed to be doing the service unless you know the why, the when, the what, and how. Okay. And so we got to be very, very careful and mindful going forward. Okay. Because all eyes are on us as far as beauty professionals, and we're dealing with it every day. And then, the numbers for different things are going up and they're very high among a certain age group and a county. Okay. So just be very mindful. Even in your everyday practices, it's okay to share information that's going to help them in their lifestyle choices. Okay. Remember, the more you can help them, the more they can help you. All right. So let's look at this second highlight, this yellow highlight. Beauty professionals should study and have a thorough understanding of infection control, because understanding and practicing proper infection control within the laws and rules will help safeguard professionals' health. It's to keep you healthy, okay, and the health of your clients and your business. Now, we said all this to say this. I got to make sure I'm good first, because you got to go home. You got a family. Okay. You got to make sure your clients are good. They got a home. They got a family. And your business needs to be a reputable place. You do not want your business labeled as a place where, oh, they don't do A, B, and C, and this is where I got this infection from. Don't go over there. And you know how the world is about social media these days, and so you gotta be careful. It's not just you. It's not just, oh, you my friend. We grew up together. You're really, really going to have to create some policies and boundaries no matter who comes in there, and everybody's going to have to follow it. Okay. Even family, even friends. um and I would say, as beauty and spa professionals, learn about sexually transmitted diseases as much as possible. um Learn about things related to the lips. I would say do in-depth research on herpes and acne. Be able to tell the difference between certain outbreaks and things of that nature. Because doing certain outbreaks and you're listening to your clients, you should be able to say, okay, you're not going to be able to get a wax today. Um, I make sure I can sell you to retail to go home to do some self cleansing, but come back after set amount of days, and then we'll see where we go from there. And so a lot of times our clients can have fungi infections. And with estheticians, I see, and I don't know about you guys, I've seen younger people with fungi infections and older people. It's like a gap. Okay. And they have it on their face. And where you would think that that's just an acne breakout, a lot of time it's a fungus that has caused acne pimples and things of that nature. Okay. And you'll say, Miss Costa, where does that fungus is communicable? It can go from one place to another. And here's the thing: if a person has a certain living situation, there's really nothing we can do about that. But we can try to instill this. Make sure you clean your clothes, you wash your clothes regularly. Some people can't wash them. Make sure you wash your linen regularly. Make sure your couches are sanitized, your bedding. Make sure your mattresses don't have any bed bugs and things of that nature. So having those conversations or those just awarenesses will help reduce some of the things that we see going on with their skin and in their hair and in their nails and lashes and so forth. Okay. Um, One thing that really affects lash techs and estheticians is skin lice. You may say, Ms. Costa, what's a skin lice? It looks like a little bug. And no matter how much you wash your face, wash your hands, no matter how much you wash your face or wash your hands, they're on there. Tons of them. Okay. And so we'll always deal with skin lice. They are in the family of scabies. They are in the family of lice, tuberculosis. Okay. They're in that family. All right. So we have to make sure that we have no signs of infection. We want to keep skin clean. We want to keep the areas we sleep and dwell clean, the areas we work clean. And so it just helps prevent a whole lot of other things. Now, some skin issues you may say, well, Ms. Cox, it's their diet. A lot of times it can be their diet, but sometimes it could be their environment. Okay. It could be their environment. So just having like a time that you would discuss spring cleaning, that's a great time to just share different tips, maybe a handout with your clients about changing their linen. Okay. Not keeping their lashes on as long, coming in and getting them a free shampoo for the lashes, something of that nature. But we have to spearhead and we have a responsibility as service providers, beauty professionals to spearhead cleanliness, to spearhead this infection control. We want to control it over here so it doesn't spread out in areas we cannot control. So it's good to have a great safeguard on that. And then practicing. Oh, let me tell you another thing with us. We, even though there's no rule about nail length, okay, we need to make sure they're conservative when working because here's the thing, the nails can really be a dwelling place for bacteria, okay, and fungus. Because when water get under those nails, fungus can start to grow. Okay, so it's a dwelling place for bacteria and fungus. And so we need to make sure that if you're working, you're doing a facial. One thing, you don't want anything to get in the eyes, anything to get in the nose, and anything to get in the mouth. Okay, so product can barrel under your hands, under your fingertips. Okay, in between your artificial nails, it can barrel. It can sit there, and it can cause bacteria to grow. But also, said bacteria can be transferred from one person to another. Okay, and you don't want to put that in one of the major openings that becomes like a pathway for bacteria to grow. So you want to make sure all is well. Secondly, even with the nails, you do not want to cut, poke the skin. The skin is the largest organ and it's the number one protector against disease bacteria. If you cut it, okay, now it is an open way for germs and bacteria to come in. So you got to be careful. You don't want to spread anything with your nails. And then also, you don't want to poke your clients. And I know some beautiful, amazing lash techs that their nails are everything. But you know what? They came to school, and before you know it, they were cut down because they were not able to service the client, fit in gloves, things of that nature. All right. So it's going to be to each his own because there's no formal rule. Okay. There's no law in Tennessee that regulates nails. But guess what? There's something called the golden rule. And the golden rule is just being conservative with your nails and being mindful of the spread of germs and bacteria. Okay. And we don't want to poke or hurt the clients as we're working. So that's another safeguard for us. Why do we need to study? Practicing safety precautions on a daily basis protects their clients and license. Here's the thing, anyone that says, I got it when I go to state board, well, every day when you come in, there's a practice of cleaning. I'm sure when you're home, there's a practice of cleaning and sanitation. Okay. Sanitizing, touching your hands, cleaning your body. There's a practice of soap and water cleaning. There's a practice of cleaning every day. Should be. Okay. If you do not create a habit of practicing cleaning and sanitizing, okay, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. It takes 21 days to form a habit. Okay. So if you're coming into your business, into your school, and before you leave, it's a habit that you clean up behind yourself. before, when you finish doing what you got to do in an area, it's a habit that you put your things away, that you clean your items up. When it's time for stay bored, you're not going to have a problem because it's already a habit. You've created this habit. You've adapted to this cleaning, disinfecting, sanitizing protocol. You've done this before, okay? But for those individuals that say, "Oh, I'm gonna have it and stay bored," you have no reference of repetition, no consistency, and so it's you're gonna be super nervous, washed out, stressed because you don't know what goes next or what they're looking for. I've seen it, y'all. I've seen it. And you think, oh, that's so easy. I'll be able to do it. It is always easy to be able to do it when you think you underestimated, okay, the route of this exam. Is it easy? Yes. Guess what? Take the stress off of yourself, okay, and just learn the protocol. All right. So yes, practicing safety precautions on a daily basis protects their clients and the license. How do we do that in our salons and spa? When you're done, you don't say, "I'm so tired, I get it the next morning." No way. That's a no go. Because I've had them come, I was like that. And one day, when I got to the salon, the state board was sitting outside. So when I opened up, they came in with me. And I got an 85, and that was the first time I've ever gotten an 85, anything other than 100. And let me tell you, it was the last time. It was the absolute last time. I may have been 22, 23 at the time, but I mean, scared straight. I mean, I was scared straight. But I remember the night before, I did so many and I was working so much. I said, "I'll just get it tomorrow." Mm-hmm. Sure did get it tomorrow. I sure did. And got a fine, not a fine, but got a citation. And kept that 85 for a whole year until it was time for them to come back. And when I tell you, every time I looked at that 85, it made me say, "I never leave this place without cleaning it up." Okay. And it really wasn't that bad. It was like I had did a quick week for something and left some hair. Um, yeah, it wasn't really a whole lot, but I was all right, get it later. I was tired, but it ain't gonna not gonna do it. Okay, we got to make sure that we're practicing our precautions because for you guys, you're going to stay bored, and if stay bored, whether you're taking a lash exam or aesthetics, if it's a heavy emphasis of sanitation, you better make sure you're on top of it. Okay, when we look at lash specialty and what does that look like with my lash students going to stay bored, your practical is going to be something super easy. You got to apply 6 individual lashes, period. 6 individual lashes. 1, 2, 3, so on and so on. Okay. You got to show them that if you poke the client, how would you stop the bleeding? So you're going to imaginary, put that, put a pin right there and clean that area. Like get your little first aid kit, put the band-aid on there and throw it away. Your biggest emphasis is going to be still sanitation. Okay. So it's making sure your station is clean, making sure your trash is there, making sure you know the difference between single use and multi-use, and making sure kit is good. The biggest emphasis. And then if you look at aesthetics, your PSI exam, every practical is heavy sanitation. Did you protect your kit? Did you? Yes, the kit got to stay closed. Okay. Do you know the difference between multi-use and single use? Was your area kept clean? There's not really a major reference, or do you know the skills, but do you know how to prevent the spread of bacteria? Okay. That's the major emphasis. And then lastly, a responsible beauty professional is inconsensuous about infection control and safety. I mean, with my life, I'm big on it. With my life, you got to be like, this is my business. I'm big on it. Just like you big on everything else, you brag on everything else. Brag on how clean your business is. Brag on how clean and how respectful your services are because you do clean your implements. You change your barber side. You do soap and water your hands before you service a client. Okay, brag on that my garbage cans are clean. Brag on that. Okay, let that be your biggest thing, that we have had no citations, that we've always had 100 marks from state board. Okay, and other people will start doing it too. They'll say, you know what, I ain't really want no service, but she clean. If I ever need one, I know where I'm going. And so a lot of times that's where our clients will head. Questions? Questions? Okay, I want to go on this page and then I want to jump into our next thing. So let's look at federal agencies, especially for all of you guys I would consider still new coming in. But federal agencies, OSHA, Occupation Safety and Health Administration. I need y'all to know what OSHA stands for. So yes, I've highlighted this in the portal. So make sure that OSHA, and you know that it stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. I believe there's a question that has different, words for OSHA. Just make sure you see Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Okay. Created by the Department of Labor, the U.S., to regulate and enforce safety and health standards to protect employees in the workplace. Okay. Employees in the workplace. So we don't have warehouses, health facilities, or anything of that nature. We are under our regulatory agency, our Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology, and not OSHA. But there are some things that relate to the beauty industry that is regulated through OSHA. Okay. And OSHA is going to be partnered with your health department. Okay. Microblading, micro shading are all going to fall under health department OSHA regulation. Electrologists and electrologists, okay, electrology, all are going to fall under OSHA and health department regulation. Okay. Anything that requires the like needle fibroblasting tools, that would go deep into deeper layers of skin. Like we can go into live skin in the beauty industry. Our law, the rules do not allow us to do that, but health department allows a little deeper. And so if you're going to be going into live levels of the skin, you're probably going into electrology, whereas you're going to do hair removal, but you're going to stick something in the pore that's going to it's like a little form of electricity that's going to cut off the hair growth, okay, from the root. And so that's electrology. And then, of course, we have tattoo artists, microblading, things of that nature that falls in that category as well. So if you're interested in any of those, really reference that doesn't fall under aesthetics, cosmetology. It will fall under your local health department. Okay. Environment Protection Agency, EPA. You can no longer have your cleaners just labeled EPA, like your spray. No, everything got to have a label. That's why we've started to switch over to the EPA wipes. Okay. And the EPA wipes are pretty much barbicide wipes. Okay. And that's what they suggest to use and stay bored. And so, guess what? We're just going to start using them here. Remember, build consistency. So, when we go over to stay bored, we already know what we're cleaning with. Okay. It has to be a label. We cannot just say EPA anymore. And this is what we used to stay. Been doing this for 20 years, y'all. And in 2025, we've had to stop. So it's probably a lot of people that still got to get accustomed to it. But right now, every disinfectant we have must have a label, and every disinfectant you use must carry an EPA number. Okay, an EPA number. Okay, just simply says this product has been tested and it does what it says it's going to do. You can take that number and Google it, and the material safety sheets will come up that'll tell you how to use the product, when not to use the product, the shelf life of the product, how to mix it, if it gets in your eyes, what to do, all of that good information. So you should not be using anything that does not have an EPA number. There sometimes you have stuff that smell amazing, but it don't have an EPA number. That means it's not regulated. And if it is regulated and it's sold in through a different channel. It did not go through proper channels. Okay. And so if it gets in your eye, you swallow it or something that's gonna be kind of on you, there's nothing that will hold these people accountable. Okay. They have not met any measures that holds them accountable. And so we don't want to use anything that does not have an EPA registered number. All right. And we need to make sure everything we use has a label. All right. So for the beauty industry, we are pretty much well affiliated with Barbicide. You don't have to use Barbicide, but we're well affiliated with Barbicide. Most of you have done your barbicide.com certification. In doing that barbicide.com certification, and you're being a part of Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology, when you go test, and that's for everyone, no matter what discipline you study, your disinfectant that you bring to clean has to do three things. It has to kill bacteria, it has to kill viruses, and it has to kill fungi. Okay. Now, your Clorox wipes, you can't bring those because it may say yes for viruses, it may say yes for bacteria, but it does not kill fungus. Okay. Your Barbicide wipes or Marvicide, whatever you choose on that disinfectant level, it has to kill bacteria, fungi, and viruses, and it has to say that on the label. Okay. Y'all, disinfecting wipes are used in every part of your state board tests for practical. Can you imagine if you brought something that was not effective, that did not kill bacteria, fungi, and viruses? Can you imagine a proctor so minute with details, and it's not a grade, it's a yes or no? Can you imagine how many no's you would get for just having the wrong product? You failed the test. You would literally fail the test because sanitation is the biggest component, and then you didn't even bring a proper disinfectant. Okay. And remember, they're gonna reduce talking to you. They can't tell you got the wrong thing. They just got to mark no. And that no for one area is gonna be no for multiple areas, every area. And you may even get double no's. Okay. So make sure what you're taking, the disinfectant you're taking, that I don't care what the name is, I don't care how it smells, Make sure it kills bacteria, make sure it kills fungi, and make sure it kills viruses. Okay. Any questions? All right, all right, all right. So we're gonna pick back up. This is ebook on state, the objective state regulatory agencies. We're gonna pick back up because we've been really strong on laws and rules, and we were going over a few yesterday in class. And I know India on the night crew, that's all you've been doing for about a week or two. And so we're going to close that out and begin it now on our day shift. But tonight, our aesthetics course is going to be in chapter one of our fundamentals. So White Book chapter one, make sure you join us for that. And but now, let me see. I'm gonna stop share y'all because I'm getting ready to go into the second portion of the class. So give me 2 minutes. June is going to be dedicated to the face, and so you're talking about um, brow lamination, brow tint, brow waxing, facial waxing, lash lift. We got to get and makeup. So we got to get our face services, facial services, um, our beautification services out the way. So we're going to dedicate the month of June to that. And every week when we learn something, we want to make sure that we're servicing clients as well. So you can go and start telling your people, come on, let's get ready. And I need you as a model. I need you to for a check off in the classroom whenever we are in the classroom. We will have projects where you'll be able to take pictures of your models, maybe create some videos. So it should be an exciting month of June. So just stay tuned and just give me one more minute while I get our next lesson up. All right, everybody. So look, a prelude to us moving on to Faces of June. Let's look at anatomy and physiology. We're in our last book now, and y'all, this license was created so there'll be a more emphasis not only on the sanitation but also the eye and eyelash anatomy, also the diseases and disorders of the eye. Okay, to make a long story short, we want to make sure that estheticians and lash specialists and cosmetologists, educators were educated about these very minute areas that deserve so much detail. Okay, and so with the growing popularity for those lash specialists, this is going to be some great information that you'll be able to share with your clients as well. Let's look at the objectives of this particular chapter, and we are in chapter 2. So when you go onto your portal, hit the lash book, and then you'll go to chapter 2. All right. And so after completing this chapter, you'll be able to explain why eyelash technicians need knowledge of eye and eyelash anatomy and physiology. So why does lash technician need to learn about parts of the eye, how the eyes and brows work? And then you'll describe the structures of the eye and their functions. What's the structures? What components are around the eye? Okay. And why do we need them? Why we always got that little dip right there? What is that for? Is it really doing something for us? And then you identify different eye and eyelid shapes. So if you've already been lashing, doing brows and working with the clients and things of that nature, you will find, okay, you will find that you've come in contact with clients that no two clients are the same. And so learning the different eye and eyelid shapes are going to better suit you because you're going to be able to determine what's best for this client. So it's a lot of times every client wants what they see everybody else wearing, but it may not be great for everybody. There may not be a great style for everybody. And so now when you learn about um, certain eye shapes versus certain lid shapes, and then you got eye shape and lid shapes together. What's the specifics when it comes to, oh, this particular lash, a few over here and a few more over here makes this particular eye pop. And we want it to be attractive. The point that it becomes unattractive, that's when we know we have an issue. Okay. And I think, and we got, specialists on the line. I really think, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, I believe that Memphis or this area that we're in, is oh, if that one is wearing that one, I want to wear it. I want to wear it. I want to wear it. And it becomes uniform. It becomes the same thing. And I just want more of I want difference. I want something that I don't want what the last person had. But I think we run out on getting the exact same thing, even though we have different facial shapes, even though we have different eye shapes. So a lot of people want the exact same thing. And so it's good to be that practitioner that steps out and you're able to offer your clients a difference, something more. And that's why we go to trade shows and things like that, because we can learn and bring back. Okay. We're not doing what everybody else doing. You're learning and bringing back, and then that gives you a wider grasp on your audience. Identify different spacings of the eye on the face. Some people have close set eyes. Some people have wide set eyes. And there are favorite lash designs that you can do to make everyone feel amazing. And then recognize the growth stages of eyelash hair. You need to understand this because we need to tell the client, if it's been 6 months, it's not going to go back. You have to give it 3 to 6 weeks. We got to understand it for ourselves, and then we got to tell the client. If you choose to do this and you're taking out the hair, or if you use this particular adhesive that you're not supposed to be using, it damages ABC. So we got to have a great understanding. Remember, we're the experts. And with us being the experts, they are going to look to us. Let's look at the first one. Okay. And remember, let's have some conversation as well. We're going to go over a few. The assignment.
Hey, Miss Cox, I'm listening in. My background just a little noisy. My daughter out of school today.
Okay, you're good. How you doing?
I'm great, so I'm just replying in the chat, but I'm here. I'm watching and listening.
Awesome.
Okay.
Monday, guys, we it's Memorial Day, so we won't have any classes Monday. But I'm gonna make sure everybody has an assignment. Okay, we're gonna have an assignment, so we'll make sure we this boat keeps on rolling. Okay, and it'll probably come from chapter 2, just something refresher, something fresh. Um, and I'll let you know what that is sometime this week. And we only got tomorrow, but I'll let you know what it is. Okay. All right. So, why is it important that eyelash technicians need knowledge of A&P? I want to know what I'm touching. Like, literally, I don't want to just be visual and see it. I want to know what I'm touching. Okay. I want to be, if you want to be the best at something, you need to know it in and out. All right. Let's highlight eyelash and eyebrow surfaces affect the orbital region of the head. You be like, what is that? Let's talk about it. Okay. Orbital. Okay. Orbital is going to be around the eye area because you have orbital bone. Okay. So when it says orbital region, whatever's sensitive, whatever's around that eye area. So you got brows and you have eyes, orbital. Okay. Orbital region of the head. Eyelash and brow surfaces affect this area right under the forehead, and they call that orbital region of the head. A complex area home to very sensitive organs of the body. And the eyes, y'all, is an organ of the body. And central to human expression, which means you can have that face mask on and you know what I'm talking about, just simply how my eyebrows squinch up or they go down or they go around. Okay. And we can make eye contact. And some people say, oh, Lord, help me with the look on my face. But no, I'm saying, help me with the look in my eyes. Okay. We can roll our eyes north, south, east, and west, and people can get a inkling of what we got going on or what we're thinking about. All right. So it's the central to human expression. So, y'all, if it's the central to human expression, like some people said, the eyes tell it. Can you imagine the work that you're doing has even more of an importance because when they look into your eyes, they're going to see everything around. And what do you want them to see? Something beautiful, something amazing, something cultivated for that particular person. So this is sensitive organs, that's the eyes, and then it's the area that's also central to human expression. So even though we may make many expressions with our lips and things of that nature, but the eyes have it. Okay. And communicate knowledge of the structure and function of the eyes, the eyelids, the eyelashes, and eyebrows. I mean, we're going to go in. Okay. Our ultimate goal is to protect the health of these areas and make them beautiful. And they should be proportioned. That's our biggest thing. Has anybody ever seen someone who did not have proportioned eyebrows or eyes or eyelashes? All right, with the one bigger than the other, you know. And River with the eyebrows, y'all, they're not sisters or brothers. They're cousins naturally. They ain't twins, but you want them to look as close as possible. Okay. And for me, and I'm gonna be very transparent, I have more medicine in one eye than I do the other one. So as far as balance, sometimes on my own face, I have to be like, hold on, girl, be still. I have to be like, okay, be still. And I have a sensitivity to somebody working around my eyes. So yes, my lash tech, when I do come, she has to force me to come. She has to call and say, I ain't seen you so long. Then I say, oh, okay, well, I guess I come. She has to be okay. And she knows, look, 30 minutes is all I'm going to get. I said, yes. And she has to do what she got to do in 30 minutes. 9 times out of 10, It's a classic set. She ain't bothering me. I'm satisfied because it was better than what I had. And guess what? It's balanced. It's balanced. And I pay whatever she wanted me to pay because it's something I'm not able to do because of my eyes. I feel like, I do need some corrective eyeglasses at this point. And so people will pay for that expertise because they just didn't have to do it. All right. And so we want to make sure that they're beautiful and that they're proportioned. All right. So we're working in the orbital space. It says eyelash technicians should have a thorough understanding of eye and eyelash anatomy because, and the more technicians understand about eye structure and function, the safer, the better experiences they can provide for their clients. And absolutely right. The more you know, the better experience you can provide for your clients. Don't you know your clients want to brag about how smart you are, how intelligent, how educated you are, how concerned you are about their services? Okay, they do. They do. They want to look. They don't want no dummy. They want someone who knows the ins and out of their specialty. That if anything was to jump off, my technician, my esthetician, my lash specialist, they know what to do. And if they don't know, there's resources that they have within them that'll get the job done. Okay? Because failing to work with the client's anatomy can have disastrous results, which means, y'all, we can't do what we want to do. And if the person does not have the face shape, if the person does not have the eye shape to get that particular style of lashes, we ain't gonna be able to do it. Because if we do something that we want to do and not go with what we're working with, we could cause the person to not like them, to feel like this is overbearing. Okay, we got to understand what we're working with and then say, okay, now let's choose the best style for this particular client. It can range. If we just go off and do our own thing, the clients can be very discomforted. It could also lead to blindness in the worst case. All right. And so we have to be very careful about what we're doing. I see a lot of people who are petite, diamond shaped head, petite. They may have longer neck, but their jaws, are very prominent, but their eyes are very small. And with the eyes being very small, I can't do mega volume time 4 on this person. When you look at them, only thing you're gonna see is them lashes sticking out and very heavy. Okay. And sometimes people will say, that's how I like it. Sometimes they would say, that's how I like it. Sometimes they would say, I don't thank you for your expertise, but do it the way I like it. In that point, you can decide to do it or not, but you get to choose what you do and what you don't do. Okay. And then it says successful eyelash services. Or it says eyelash services must be modified to fit the client's eye and spacing. So we're still on this point of making sure their facial shape can handle what we're doing. So if the biggest component is somebody just comes in and lays down and says, hey, I just want what I seen her with 2-3 days with, I would at least make sure they're close to the same facial shape. That their measurements, their orbital space is balanced. Okay. It's close to it. So just kind of being repetitive, doing the same thing over and over again, and just not changing up based on how this person's eyes may squint, whether it squints. And that's the thing, y'all, whether it squints up or down. So if someone's eyes, you're used to them squinting up, giving you like a cat eye, but what if you have a client that their eye squints down? So now it looks like that lash is dragged down. So you got to learn, how do we fix that? Okay. And so many different things that you're going to learn. So successful eyelash services take into account the hair growth cycle of eyelashes, protecting the growing the lash and giving the best final look. All right. So if your lashes fall out, when do you estimate those lashes to return? Okay. What's the growth cycle? And here's the thing too, with the heaviness of artificial lashes on, and they're connected to your natural lash, right? Um, you gotta know the growth, the anagen catagen telogen. You gotta know what phase your hair is in, or your client's growth cycle is in, because if you apply lashes, if it's in the falling out stage, those lashes are not going to last long. Clients are going to say, my lashes just fell out, and then it just, they didn't last long, and then my real lashes fell out with them. Whole thing. You didn't have nothing to do with none of that. Only thing you did, you just miscalculated their growth spurts. Okay, their growth stage. You just miscalculated. Nothing physical happened to them. Okay, there was nothing that won't be, that can't be taken care of. But how long you gotta wait for their natural lashes to grow back to fix it? And so this is why sometimes, if you know um this person's hair is this long, and around this time of the year they go through a shedding process, and if you notice that they're complaining about their hair on their head, that the same hair on their head follows the same cycle that's on the eyelashes and anywhere else, and if their nails are breaking and brittle, it's all on the same system, and so the lashes are going to be affected as well. While they're complaining about one thing, you can believe all of it's connected. Okay. And then if you're putting an overwhelming amount of lashes on the hair strands during this particular time, it can be too heavy. And you want the hairs to shed so they return, they grow back. You don't want them to break. So the heaviness of artificial lashes can break, which can cause more damage um, to your client's hair strand itself. So it's important for you to know that. You got to be able to gauge what's going on seasonal with your clients' growth cycles. And how do you know that? You want clients return. So we always going to preach staying consistent. No, we don't own anybody. They can go wherever they want to go. But if they want a professional, they want good work, a nice analysis, they want great consideration, and for me to know everything they got going on front, back, sideways, they'll stay connected to you. Okay. Any remarks? All right. Once again, this is being recorded live stream on our Facebook page, DCI Education Group. If you have not already subscribed, please make sure you just subscribe. Let's look at the anatomy of the eye. And y'all, I'm very sensitive about my eyes. Let's look at the anatomy of the eye. And look at the lashes. Okay. Look at the lashes. It says the eye is a complex, sensitive organ. I told you it was an organ. Okay, made up of several protective structures. All right. If we don't know anything else, if we're going to be doing brow waxing, brow tinting, doing lashes, working anywhere around the eye, you need to know the structure of the eye. It says, although our focus is on the lash, you must still understand the healthy function of the entire orbital region. All right, you got to understand the function all the way around. This includes the eyelids, the eyebrows, which along with the eyelashes exist to protect the eye from harmful substances. So eyelashes, eyebrows, and eyelids, their ultimate focus is to protect the eye, okay, from harmful substances or objects. Now, can we beautify them? Yes, you can beautify them. But remember, ultimately, we're protecting. They're there to serve as protection. So when the lashes become, more so not about protecting or doing more harm, we need to evaluate and we got a problem. Okay, we got a problem. As you see, the lens, the pupil, cornea, the iris, the bulbar, okay, all of these have purposes. They're there for a reason. It's the anatomy of the eye. Okay. And remember when we first came on, I told my estheticians, I'm gonna tell my last specialist this now. If you're looking, where all references are going towards passing the exam, we're gonna learn some amazing things, but we're gonna pass that exam as well. Whenever you see your highlight, your bold words, your terms, you need to study your terms. If you understand the terms, you understand the question, you understand what it's asking, and you're able to answer the question with more of a detailed background. Okay. And so every term you see now on, you're going to make sure you understand that term. All right. If you got to look it up 2, 3 different ways, you're going to understand that term. When you go into your portal, the last 3 to 4 things in every portal, in every chapter, is going to be term quiz, the term slide, the review slides, and the exam. That's going to be your target area where you study it every night. Okay. Yes, there's videos. There's so much for each chapter, but that's going to be a target area where you study every night. Okay. So let's look at the eye. Okay. Starting at the outermost layer, the eye is protected by the conjunctiva, a thin. And so even though we have these terms, you still have to look at it and say, okay, I need to put it into a summary that I understand it. A thin, clear, moist mucous membrane that coats the inner surface of the eyelids and outer surface of the eye. So it has a purpose inside and outside. Okay. It's always one of those that you're looking at, okay, this is part of a membrane, like a 2-part. It's going to lubricate the eye and it's going to block germs from coming in, guys. Okay. Thin, clear, moist, mucous membrane coats the inner surface of the eyelids and outer surface of the eye. What if this helps give eyes its moisture? What is something that people use that say, my eye dry? What do they use over the counter when they say their eyes are dry? Or how does that feel? Have you ever heard somebody say my eyes are dry and they have to use what?
Solution.
Yeah, they use the eye drops. Okay. Then the eye drops are supposed to give you moisture. So the eye drops are supposed to do the job of conjunctiva. It's a moist membrane. So somebody's structure is not working properly if we have to always use something over the counter moisture barrier to bring lubrication back to that area. So that's something you got to always talk to your clients about too. They're saying they're always, having to use eye drops or some kind of eye lubricant. You need to find out what's going on. And one of the biggest things could be their lenses, um, the lenses, if they don't want to wear glasses, they put the lenses in. Sometimes they could be in there too long. And with them being in there too long, it could pull a lot of moisture. All right. And so you need to make sure that your clients are taking those out on a regular basis. And they need to really take them out while they're getting their lashes done, period. Okay. They need to take them out. Cornea covers and protects the iris, pupil, lens, interior chamber, and other internal structures, the cornea. And that may be a term that you've heard before. Okay. The cornea is very sensitive. It's the part of the eye where you feel like you got reflexes. You're like, hold on. You're too close. Okay. It is so sensitive. The cornea, that little small area, has 70 to 80 sensory nerves. Okay. 70 to 80 sensory nerves. It can feel stuff. It can sense stuff. And think about when we talk about peripheral vision, you're like, oh, what was that? It actually has a reflex, y'all. Okay. So the eyes are like, even though you're just saying like, oh, it's just an eyeball. No, these structures are very important. They help protect this particular organ. It says healthy tear films are vital to the cornea, keeping the eye moist, protecting it from infections and healing wounds. Okay. Let's look at the eyelids. Now, the eyelid to some individuals can be very complex. Y'all, the eyelid also is connected to sebaceous glands, okay, which produce oil. And so the eyelid sometimes could be a little oily. Okay. You got to be careful with your adhesives at this point, because if someone has oily skin or overactive sebaceous gland, they can produce a lot of oil in that area. And if you don't clean that eyelid really, really good, that means that oil could set up on the hair and cause your lashes not to stick, because the oil barrier can cause the adhesive not to stick. Or the lash sticks, and then all of a sudden the oil starts producing and it causes, guess what? Slippage. And so your lash will come out. All right. Premature shedding of the lash. More so with this particular gland. This particular gland that produces the oil, also bacteria could set up in these areas. Okay, so the number one thing, and very important, people think they don't have to shampoo their lashes. They absolutely do. It's very, very important. Can you guys see why it's important that you must offer the shampoo service or have them purchase it as retail? But it has to be part of education, because if you don't keep it clean, there's a accumulation of oil, sweat, and dirt that can cause issues with the set that they just invested. Okay. And I'm gonna just tell you this: once we perform a service, we can't get that back as a refund. You can't get back the time that you spent. Time is non-refundable. So, and I don't even think Individuals charge what they should be charging because, so understand your policies and the value of your time. And that's just, it's going to help us with our business down the road. But if someone has an issue going on and you've done a consultation and you've noticed they have oily skin, you notice that you've asked them questions about their scalp and they said they have oily scalp, you're gonna find oil production under the arms in intimate areas, and also on the eyelids. Okay, it's gonna be an abundance of that. Now the eyelid is supposed to prevent oil, sweat, and dirt from getting into the eye. But if also it has an abundance of oil that sits there from that gland, it's going to be oil that mixes with the oil, sweat, and dirt. So now you got to get it clean, or you could possibly cause an infection, maybe a pimple or blackhead to settle into those particular areas. You never know. So those eyelids gotta stay clean. Gotta stay clean, gotta stay clean. So whether you're developing a shampoo, and if you're doing any kind of makeup, it should be a easy sell, a easy service to sell, or a service you can set apart and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna freebie this, okay? Or this is a bonus if you upgrade to a VIP membership, something, but you're gonna include it. As an area that you really have a major focus on. Okay. So we're looking at glands of the eyelid. Yes, we see the lashes. Yes, we see what they're attached to. But at the same time, we have some functions of the eyelids. Okay. And remember, when we blink, we could, when we blink, okay, oil, sweat, and dirt that's supposed to be blocked, it can literally fall into the eyes. So we need to make sure that that's clean and that we have those protective areas good at all times. All right, the glands of Zeus and the meibomian gland is the back of the eyelid. You got about 50 of these in one area, 25 in the next. Even though they're very, very small, they're connected to the oil gland, y'all. Okay. And they help keep tears from spilling onto the cheeks. And so it's almost like becomes like an evaporation. So as tears come out, or they're forming, and instead of having them just kind of flood down. And I know for me, when I'm crying, my tears is going to come down. But can you imagine the process of trying to soak all of that up before it even gets down? So we have glands that are working overtime, but we need to make sure that the areas are kept clean so everything has a function and it functions correctly to prevent anything from going into the eyes. Eyelashes. It says a human eye has 75 to 80 lashes on the lower eyelid and 90 to 160 on the upper eyelid. And then you add them up, okay? The eyelashes act as a broom, sweeping away debris before it enters the eye. If you're going to enhance it, it's going to be a bigger broom, okay? You might as well make it a pretty broom, all right? Remember, if it's supposed to be a broom to sweep away bacteria, debris, I'm gonna just say debris, it does not make sense for our client to have dirty lashes. It defeats the purpose of the lashes. So it seems like they're driving a narrative of cleanliness, still into infection control, okay? Still into infection control, making sure everything is clean, without debris, protective of the eyes and the structures of the eyes. Okay. And then also making sure that it's a part of hygiene. All right. It's a part of how many times have we service clients and we've seen them have crust in their eyes, and we service clients and seen a whole lot of dirt and oil build up around the eyes. And sometimes you have to be the one to say it. It's not just you taking a bath and taking care of the important parts on the body, but you also have to take care of these particular areas on the face as well. All right. So we have those particular functions that we have to look at. And those are a lot of hairs, y'all. It's a lot of hairs. Okay. It said when the eye is open, eyelashes act as a passive filter, making it harder for airborne particles to fall into the surface of the eye when it's open. Okay. And if they're going to act like a broom, excuse me, if they're going to act like a broom, it got to be a beautiful broom. All right, let's look at the eyebrows and then we'll go into a video. All right, and we got some checking questions right there. It says eyebrows are arched lines of hair that grow on the skin along the brow bone above the eye socket. Let's just highlight that right there. So if we say what are eyebrows? Arched lines of hair that grow on the skin along the brow bone, okay, above the eye socket. All right. There's three parts to the brow. There's a head, there's a body, and then there's a tail. There's a head, the body, and the tail. So when I was in Dallas, I did post some pictures. There was a class called 3D Brows. And last night, me and my friend was recapping about the class. And y'all, the man wanted to charge, he said the class is $2,900, but he was only going to charge $1,800 for the class attendees. And so what he was doing with the brows, he said it lasts 2 weeks. It is an tint. He was doing a tint light for the brow, a tint. And he was doing, instead of, we would do lash extensions on the eyelashes, eyelid area. He was basically doing lash extensions on the remainder of the brow hair. So he was taking these very small individual lashes, getting his adhesive, and he was attaching it to the brow hair that was already there. Okay. So making it fuller. I really was saying, I don't think I would give him 29 or 19 for the class, because it just seemed like it was a basic, you would take the lash training, and instead of putting it on the brow, you would put it on the eyelashes. He didn't do anything different. And so I figured just take a lash training and a microblading class, put them two together, and bam, there you are. And so they've only been out a couple of years, but they see it popular. I can see it being popular among certain individuals. But sometimes you're already doing it. Okay, what others seeing is popular now, you're already doing it, or you've already cultivated and you know what it does. And for the model, the tail was what I was really interested in, because the tail could sell anything. The end of the brow could sell anything. He was saying that she already came with her eyebrows sculpted. And so he was just filling in with the lash extensions. He was adding the lash extensions to the brows. And so just like you would connect hair, that's what he was doing. And he was saying that it was an easy $200 service. Like, okay, we're going to test the method out and we will let them know. But there are three parts of the brows, and within these particular lessons, you guys are going to learn lashes and brows. So the head, the body, and the tail. Then it says the eyebrows protect the eyes from sun and dust, and as well as direct moisture from the eye. So you gotta have a give and take, gotta have a balance of it. And the eyebrows are amazing because they help us express emotion, character, and we're able to recognize human faces because every person has a look that can be very particular, and based on the facial features, it's sometimes how we say, oh, I know that's India. I know the brows anywhere. Okay. Oh, I know. Oh, that's Ashley. I know those eyes. I know them lashes anywhere. Okay. And so they become part of our aesthetic. And when we look at brows, when we start to go over tinting and also more so in the waxing component, we'll look closely when we come in next week on our Wednesday and Friday, and then also on our virtuals Tuesday and Thursday. When we come in, we'll look at the growth areas of the brow. How in the head does it grow up? Does it grow left or grow right? In the body, does it grow at an angle or does it grow straight up? You guys, when you start studying brows, you'll find that, oh my goodness, I did not know it was this detailed. Some origin, some guys, their brows go straight across, left to right. No shape. You have to put the shape in. Same thing with some ladies. Sometimes people brows grow in a perfect arch. I was went to the hospital last night and I said, I want to clean my mom's scalp. I want to shampoo her hair, but I did the best I could. And she was just looking so amazing. And I got her brows. And I said, she has literally a perfect arch. Her brows hadn't been arched in, months. I know, almost a year. And she had a perfect arch. And it was just amazing. I was like, look at this. People would die for this, and you're sitting up in here with these beautiful eyebrows. And so sometimes you find people that you don't have to do anything to, but we're gonna learn the growth spurts of each part of the brow. So as far as the head, how does that usually grow? The body, how does that usually grow? And the tail, how does that usually grow? Once you understand that, you'll be able to sculpt and identify, do an analysis on any brow that you see. Okay. And so that's something I'm really looking forward to because I know I have some students that are apprehensive about doing brows. And so as we start to say June, we're committed to services of the face. I want you to get more and more comfortable with saying, okay, let me just look at it and see where we go from here. Okay. And first, we're going to look at the parts of the brow, and then we'll look at how the hair is growing from there to see how we're going to move as far as the new shape or just the sculpture of the brows. Okay, so we're going to close out on eye and eyelid shapes. And I just want you to take a look here. We have almond, we have round, downturn, and upturn. So it's easy for us to see people with almond. It's easy for us to see people with round. But when I tell you, people are going to be asking you, why are you looking at me? Tell them you are studying. You are doing your homework. You need to learn with your eye the difference between downturned eyes and upturned eyes. Okay? You can probably already see the difference with upturned eyes. The the outer corners of the eyes turn up and are higher. Okay. Sometimes people will say that this is a cat illusion, you know. Then you look at downturn. Okay. That means the corner flows downward. They have a slight drop on the outer corners, turning downward and setting lower than your inner eye. And so you will have to give the illusion in your makeup, to pull it up. You have to give an illusion in your lash curls to pull it up so it doesn't look like it's droopy. So if you're using D or DD curl, okay, on the outer corner, mainly you'll do the opposites, okay, on the upturn. That gives, you want to have a great balance. Monolid, okay, these are eyelids with no crease. We know there are groups, ethnic groups of individuals, many individuals that have very tight eyes, okay, or eyelids, very tight eyelids, and they have primarily no crease. We have to give crease indication through makeup, okay, and then it gives you a lash um, solution to kind of give a more of a crease look to the lashes. Then there's hooded, okay. Eyes have a droopy overcrease, which means there's an additional area of skin in that crease area, and they call that hooded. Now, here's the thing. Some people, this would be reason for cosmetic surgery in the orbital area, okay? Because they want to tighten that skin up. They want to show this amazing eyeshadow combination. Over a period of time, it's known that as you would age, this area becomes develops this extra skin because you have no filler, okay? As you age, like your filler, your fattiness that was in the face starts to diminish. This is where you start to see people add fillers to the face, okay, to fill in, or they just go in and have those cuts done that would tighten, give them more of a monolid look instead of a hooded look. All right. Even if your clients deals with hooded, it gives you also a suggestion of what lashes you should use for these particular individuals. All right. And so our ultimate goal is not only are we going to learn about areas of the face, but we need to learn what works with everybody. And we know that everything is not going to work for everyone. So if y'all up for it, I'm up for it. It's going to be amazing. We're going to learn by pictures and try to get models in. So we want to do pictorial pictures, which means it's going to be a lot of you taking before pictures and after pictures, okay? And we're going to try to learn and explore the different type of lash styles, whether it's in clusters, whether it's in L's, B's, C's, D's, touching some that you ain't never touched before just to see what the outcome looks like for these type of eyes. Okay, so that's one thing we're going to look at. We're going to prepare to close right now, but I do want Miss Dennis to continue reading chapter 2 over the weekend. And I will send you your assignment. And then also, Ashley, I'm going to send you an assignment as related to lashes as well, because
Okay.
I know that's an area that we're going to dive into. And also just maybe a few questions to ask when it comes to sanitation. Is everybody good? Anybody got any questions from today's class today? No questions? So my question is, I ain't got an invite yet about who barbecuing on Monday. I ain't got an invite yet. Awesome. I'm glad. It just gets greater from here. Ashley, I know you cook a barbecue.
I'm not. We going on my uncle. We do memorial at my uncle house every year, but you're welcome to come.
I will be the one to show up and be like, Ashley, and all your family look at you.
No, they wouldn't do that.
You know what? I'm literally just talking. I'm gonna probably find some rest somewhere, or get somewhere with my mom. I am definitely wanting some corn on the grill for some reason, and I'm gonna find it. If I
Yeah.
had to do it myself, some zucchini and mushrooms and corn, that's gonna be amazing. But that's about it, guys. It's been a wonderful day. Stay tuned. I'm gonna hang with mom, but tonight I'll be on tonight with Aesthetics Nights and Cosmo tonight. So y'all hang on in there. You want to join me tonight? I'm on at 6. And if not, y'all, you know what you do with your clock. Y'all have a blessed and amazing weekend. Stay safe. And I will